Welcome back to another video. Today we will be jumping back into the Go Battle League arena with the team of Shadow Machamp, Lickitung, and Wigglytuff. Hopping straight into the first battle, we have Machamp on the lead against Pelipper. We are swapping immediately. It's a terrible lead into our Lickitung. Lickitung running the charge move or the fast move of Lick is greeted by the Registeel. Lickitung firing off the body slam. Both of Lickitung's charge moves are unfortunately going to be resisted here. Lickitung firing off another resisted body slam before the Registeel is able to get to its first charge move, but it was a CMP tie. We do see Registeel throwing its first move here, and it is the Focus Blast that is doing huge, super effective damage onto the Lickitung. Lickitung going for the body slam and able to get to the body slam before getting lock on down by the Registeel. Lickitung throwing its next charge move, but gets farmed down before it reaches a final body slam. Machamp comes back in and is immediately greeted again by the Pelipper. Pelipper has built up a huge amount of energy here. Is it going to be the Hurricane? It is the Hurricane, and we do not shield it. That does massive damage onto the Wigglytuff. And now Pelipper is able to get to another Weather Ball, and this will be taking out the Wigglytuff. Machamp all on its own, all alone, 2 shields, and we do see Pelipper ever spammy getting to another Weather Ball, firing off the Weather Ball. This does get shielded. Opponent brings in their final Pokemon. It is the Galarian Stunfisk. Machamp throwing off its first charge move here. It's a cross chop and it does get shielded by the Stunfisk. Stunfisk has built up to the Rock Slide here, firing off the Rock Slide, and we choose to not shield it and instead conceding the match. We do see that we are not going to delay the inevitable. May have had some play there if Machamp would have thrown off another charge move. Not too sure, but we're hopping right into the next match. Machamp greeted on the lead against Clawitzer. Clawitzer with the fast move of, I can't tell if it's Bubble or, but regardless, Machamp throwing its first charge move here. This is a cross chop and it will get shielded. Machamp doing massive damage with the fast move of Counter, greeted by the Toxicroak, and we do swap in our Lickitung. Not too sure if this was the most appropriate or the best play here, as Lickitung is taking super effective damage from these counters from the Toxicroak. Lickitung throwing off its body slam here will be taking out the Toxicroak, but Toxicroak expends its first shield and is able to counter down, taking Switch at the expense of its final shield. We do bring in our Wigglytuff here, going for the aggressive Charm Down, but Toxicroak is able to reach a charge move. Is this going to be the Sludge Bomb? No, it is just the Mud Bomb. We do expend our first shield, and we are greeted by the Clawitzer. Clawitzer has reached its first charge move. Is this going to be the Crab Hammer? It is. See how much damage the Crab Hammer does? That does massive damage onto the Wigglytuff, but Wigglytuff is able to hang on, get to a charge move, throwing the Disarming Voice here into the Lantern. Lantern with the fast move of Spark, generating energy rather quickly. Machamp throwing off this cross chop here, and Machamp does still have a shield, so we should see the Machamp being able to farm down this Lantern here. Machamp does get the farm down, and Clawitzer extremely low and does get farmed down by the Shadow Machamp as well. Machamp calling game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. Hopping into the next match, we do see Galarian Stunfisk on the lead. This is a great lead for us. Machamp throwing its super effective counters here. Machamp goes to, gets to the cross chop before the Galarian Stunfisk is able to throw its first charge move. Stunfisk does choose to shield this move. Machamp matching shields here, hoping to either get to its next charge move, potentially farm down. Let's see. And Stunfisk does get to another charge move, but the Stunfisk was not able to build up to the Earthquake. We do know this is going to be a Rock Slide, goes unshielded, and we are able to get the farm down. Machamp throwing off another cross chop here. Not too sure what came in. It is the Superior. Okay, Superior, again, decent coverage here. It has the charged moves of Frenzy Plant, usually Aerial Ace, might also run Leaf Tornado. Opponent choosing to expend their final shield as we bring in our Lickitung. Superior throwing its first charge move. It is the Leaf Tornado, and we do get our attack dropped by 2 stages. Opponent bringing in the Umbreon. Umbreon is going to be massively resisting our fast move of Lick. Meanwhile, we throw the, I believe that was a body slam, and it did minimal damage. Let's see, next body slam, how much is this going to do? Yep, it is doing very little damage onto the Umbreon here. Umbreon continuing to farm up, throwing off the foul play into the Lickitung, and Umbreon getting to another foul play here. Is this going to take out the Lickitung? Not quite, but the Lickitung getting extremely low. We see the swap into the Wigglytuff, and this is dealing super effective damage. Opponent choosing to not delay the inevitable, allowing Wigglytuff to call game. Well played by the opponent, and thank you for the match. Hopping into the next battle, we see Machamp on the lead against Shadow Politoed. Politoed swaps into the Granbull. Granbull running the fast move of Charm, doing super effective damage here against the Machamp. We were slow to switch out into our Lickitung, and because of that, we did take one Charm onto our Machamp. But Lickitung here getting to its charge move of Body Slam does go shielded by the opponent. Granbull attempting to farm down is able to get the farm down, the charm down. Are we going to bring the Machamp back in? Thankfully not. Instead, we come in revealing our third and final Pokemon, and we do see the Wigglytuff shielding the Crunch. The opponent choosing to bait there, may not have been at the close combat. Opponent brings in the Shadow Politoed, and Politoed does get to its charge move. This is only going to be a Weather Ball, but it does go shielded. Machamp now at the back-to-back cross chop. This will be doing extreme damage, and it does take out the Politoed. Opponent bringing in his final Pokemon. It is a Alolan Sandslash, and Sandslash is not going to appreciate this cross chop. And Machamp calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. Okay, so we see a 4-1 on our first set. Pretty good. We are seeing a decent amount of misplays by your boy, but again, please be patient with me. I am just getting comfortable with the game again. We see Machamp on the lead against Altaria. We swap into the Lickitung. Lickitung is greeted by Bastiodon. This is not the best matchup for Lickitung, although it is dealing neutral damage with its fast move of Lick. Its body slams are going to be resisted, so instead we are firing off the Power Whip, but that is non-stab and therefore doing minimal damage to the ever bulky Bastiodon, who is now firing off the Stone Edge. Stone Edge doing a decent amount of damage and getting the Lickitung in the red. Lickitung here firing off another Power Whip into the Bastiodon, but Bastiodon just has no care in the world. We get to a third Power Whip, choosing instead to undercharge, as we do know this will not take out, and instead choosing to take the energy and the farm down onto our Machamp. Machamp is going to have to expend one shield here, choosing not to shield, instead just taking the damage from the flamethrower. It does about 55% onto the Machamp, and we do bring in our Wigglytuff into the Altaria. What's in the back? It's going to be Talonflame. Talonflame, being a fire type, is going to be resisting these charms from the Wigglytuff. Talonflame throwing off a flame charge. It goes unshielded, and Wigglytuff is going for the Ice Beam. We do get to the Ice Beam. Will the opponent respect the damage here? They do. They protect their Talonflame, and Talonflame gets the farm down onto the Wigglytuff. Now double boosted onto the Machamp. Machamp, 2 shields, only its hopes and dreams remaining. What is it going to be able to do? Machamp taking huge damage from the Flame Charge or from the Incinerate, and is not able to get to its next charge move. We did identify the win con there of having to charge down. Hopping into the next battle, we see Machamp greeted on the lead against Medicham. Medicham doing super effective damage with its counters against Lickitung, but Lickitung dealing super effective damage right back with its fast move of Lick, firing off this Body Slam. Lickitung now greeted by the Registeel. Okay, we've seen this matchup before. Lickitung going to have both of its charge moves resisted by the Registeel. That does barely any damage. Registeel super tanky, as we know, and also being the steel type is resisting these charge moves. Meanwhile, Registeel is able to get to its charge move. Is this going to be the Focus Blast? Boom, it is the Focus Blast, and it knocks out the Lickitung. We bring back in our Machamp. Are we going to go for the farm down? No, we are not, choosing to fire off our cross chop, and it does get shielded by the opponent. So we chose to fire off our cross chop to save our shields, but the opponent content with saving their Registeel for late game. Meanwhile, the opponent swaps in Medicham. We instantly greet them with our Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff absorbing that Ice Punch. Didn't really feel anything. Wigglytuff is taking neutral damage from these counters, being normal and fairy typing. Is going to shield up this Psychic. Now, was that a misplay? Because Wigglytuff is going to be dealing resistant damage with its charms against this Registeel. Wigglytuff is able to get to the Disarming Voice. Will this knock the Registeel out? It goes shielded. Registeel respects the damage from the newly given charge move of Disarming Voice. Wigglytuff is not able to shield here though. So Wigglytuff gets knocked out by the Focus Blast, and we are greeted by the opponent's final Pokemon, Lantern. We are choosing to farm up to the back-to-back, knowing that one Cross Chop will not be taking out the Lantern, but before we can get to the back-to-back, the opponent does knock out the Machamp with its Thunderbolt. Hopping into the next game, we see Azumarill on the lead against our Shadow Machamp. We instantly swap into our Lickitung as Azumarill will be resisting our counters from the Machamp. Opponent farms up to an Ice Beam and then swaps into Medicham. Medicham instantly throwing its charge move. We know that because they threw it so quickly, it must be a power-up punch. Now, as the Medicham is boosted, it is going to be dealing massive damage with its super effective counters onto our Lickitung. But Lickitung firing right back with its Body Slam. Is Lickitung able to get to another Body Slam? It is. Firing off this Body Slam. Will this put pressure on the opponent to shield? They do choose to expend their final shield of the match. So we have Machamp coming into the opponent. Is this going to be a power-up punch shield bait? It is. The opponent able to successfully bait our Machamp, and now Machamp choosing to not expend another shield, calling the bait, and it is just the power-up punch. However, those counters boosted, quadruple boosted from the Medicham, deals an insane amount of damage onto the Machamp, getting the Machamp low. Machamp firing off a Rock Slide into the Azumarill. Azumarill now faced with the Wigglytuff in the back. Wigglytuff with the shield advantage chooses to not shield the Hydro Pump and instead is greeted by the Galarian Stunfisk in the back. And at this point, Wigglytuff knows, can't delay the inevitable, chooses to not shield the Rock Slide. Machamp goes for the farm down, not able to get it, and Stunfisk calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. Hopping into the next match, we see Machamp on the lead against Walrein. Opponent swaps into Altaria, and we immediately swap into our Lickitung. Now, I'm not sure if this was a misplay. It most likely was, given that Lickitung would be able to do super effective damage onto the Walrein with this fast move of Power Whip, and we do have a Wigglytuff for this Dragon type in the back. So it more than likely would have been the appropriate or better move to swap into our Wigglytuff as opposed to this Lickitung. So instead, we are able to fire off multiple charge moves, knocking out the opponent with one final lick as we are both down to one shield. The Walrein comes back in and is going to have to take this Body Slam from the Lickitung. Is the opponent choosing the shield? They are choosing to expend their final shield. They may have lost track of energy there as Lickitung was not quite at the power whip, but now we do see Lickitung on the CMP tie, getting to the power whip, choosing to save its energy and fire off this power whip into the Walrein, having to expend its final shield in order to do so. Opponent brings in their final Pokemon. It is Swampert, and we instantly swap into our Machamp. We have gotten to our Cross Chop. Opponent no longer having any shield is going to have to absorb that damage onto the Swampert, but Swampert gets to the Hydro Cannon. This will be dealing massive damage onto the Machamp, knocking out our Shadow Machamp, and now we have our Lickitung with 1 HP as well as our Wigglytuff here. Wigglytuff does sneak the charm through and will be able to survive this Hydro Cannon to knock out the opponent, and we still are faced with this Walrein. Walrein firing off the Icicle Spear. Wigglytuff will be able to hang on and get the knockout, calling game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. Hopping into our next battle, we see Machamp again with a tough lead against Sableye. We are going to swap immediately into our Lickitung, and we are again greeted by the counter swap of Medicham. We are seeing a theme in our battles today, and more than likely you're seeing the same. Medicham is everywhere in the meta right now. In the lead, safe swap in the back. Medicham extremely strong, dealing once again super effective counters onto our Lickitung, taking that body slam and able to reach its next charge move. It is the Ice Punch, is going to get the Lickitung low. Lickitung able to get to another body slam. Medicham is going to have to shield here if they want to keep switch. They do choose to maintain alignment by shielding their Medicham, and now they are out of shields. The opponent firing off this charge move into our Machamp. This is an Ice Punch, gets shielded, and we are not able to farm down the Medicham. Medicham reaching its next charge move, and we are choosing to expend our final shield on an Ice Punch. That may have been a misplay as we are greeted by the Sableye, and the opponent swaps into a Bastiodon in the back, and this is a nightmare for us as our Wigglytuff is not going to be able to do very much of anything against this Bastiodon here. Bastiodon could choose to farm down and just take 100 energy into its battle with the Machamp. As we do see Wigglytuff getting to another disarming voice here, Wigglytuff is becoming a little bit more spammy with the charge move of newly added charge move of disarming voice, but not able to reach a third as the opponent does smack down the Wigglytuff, reaching a flamethrower against the Machamp, and the opponent with a beautiful combo play as we over tap on the charge move. Wouldn't have made too much of a difference as the Sableye is still extremely healthy and the Machamp was not, and Sableye calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match, and thank you for the games. Thank you everyone for stopping by today. As we saw, misplays from your boy once again, but we are here to have fun. Thank you for joining me on my journey, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.